That's the thing, right? So now we communicate, we express ourselves, we set these boundaries, we manage expectations, and despite our best efforts, we end up experiencing a breakup in some cases, right? How many people in the audience have experienced a breakup at some point in time in their lives? Your hand has not gone up for this one. What? That's incredible. The first person. It's fair to say, I think a fair amount of people have experienced a breakup, and it's obviously each of you have had the worst experience possible. My heart goes out to you. Although mine is the most painful. I win. But Dhruv, for you as a creator, right? When you're dealing with emotional experiences, that's where audiences connect with what you make fundamentally. Are there any specific ways you approach a breakup when you're coming up with an idea for how to write it, besides the violin and the crying?
And the autumn leaves.
The autumn leaves, yeah. Signature bottle.
Nahi yaar, it's just. I mean, sadly, the shows that I've written about breakups, they haven't been made because nobody wants those shows. I wrote an entire thing called Anatomy of a Breakup, but don't think they will see the light of the day. But it's again about respect, for me at least. The moment I felt that there is no amount of respect left in this person for me, or there's no amount of self-respect left for myself, it's game over. Because, everything can be fixed, but that I feel. Which is why it's very important, which is why people also say things which they know will hurt the other person the most. So this is what we've done in the show where we show them fight. We pick on things which we know are the weak, the weak points. And that's when you know that the other person is not empathetic towards your weaknesses. I don't know how to fix a breakup, but I know how it feels. So it just feels like there's no respect left. Yeah, done the same to the other person also, sadly. So, yeah.
That's the thing. I think causing them is quite easy, but fixing them is a bit tricky. And for some reason, even though they're so prevalent, and we've had this in the history of mankind, we still seem to ache when they happen, especially with the first time. It's a very unique kind of pain. It's someone's taken your heart out, jumped on it, put it back in, and closed it, and told you it's fine. You walk back home thinking, why does it still hurt so much? But what is it about that? Why does that pain hurt so much more? Like, you fail exams, you're a little annoyed. You're not devastated. But what is it about a breakup that makes that pain so unique? Psychologically speaking.
Yeah, so one is that if I address this from a neuroscience or neuropsychological perspective, so to say, and what a relationship and a breakup does to the brain, right? So we have an emotional part of the brain somewhere here, the temporal part of our brain. It's called the limbic system, and it's very sensitive to anxiety and fear, right? Again, evolutionarily, we need to be kind of careful of what gives us anxiety and fear, right? And breakups trigger it like nothing else, because that's one thing you really want to avoid. You do not want to kind of be in that position where your self-esteem, self-efficacy, your kind of concept of self is hurt, right? So that keeps it kind of just goes on. It lingers, that part of the brain, and it keeps throwing out neurochemicals. Also, that relationships activate something that we call motivational pathways, or the dopamine pathways in the brain. Now, this is a bit like, when you're high on drugs, right? And those addictive ones. And you crave more of that because it's giving you dopamine and you're feeling like you're on top of the world. And that's what love does to us when it starts, right? It's great. It's giving us a lot of self-esteem. Our self-concept is great. Hey, I'm with this person. Obviously, I really like this person. That's why I'm with them. All of that. But then suddenly or chronically over time, it's taken away from us. And then suddenly we have to now figure out, where am I? What's my self-concept? How am I without this person? What am I without this person, right? So especially it depends highly on whether you controlled that breakup or not, whether it was something that, you decided over time and you were the one who inflicted it to someone else, and how much you saw it coming. So the more sudden it is, the more unexpected it is, the more your amygdala is like, got to be careful of this, right? This is trauma. So people post breakup, which are very difficult breakups, like which involve cheating or those kind of very difficult emotions. They also sometimes show signs of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome. So it's very similar to actually having been in a battle, for that matter. And PTSD was discovered in war veterans and things like that. So that's what it does to your brain. It actually really kind of disturbs it neurochemically, so to say. And like I said, obviously self-concept has a lot to do with it as well.
And how much of what a person is like decides how a breakup affects them? Because breakups affect different people differently. You find people who've had 15-year marriages and they're playing golf the next day, and someone who's had two exchanges, one of them says go away, and he's devastated for months. So, what do you think causes that difference?
So a lot of times, I think one is how much important or what importance that relationship had to us. But I'll go back to the the attachment styles as well, because it depends largely on attachment styles as well. So someone who is an avoidant kind of attachment style has already suppressed so many of their feelings, right? They already thought that, I'm not going to get my emotional needs. Compared to an anxious attachment style person who's looking for those attachment needs constantly, and then suddenly realizes that now there's no chance. Now, even if I pursue, there's no chance that I'm going to get it because now we've broken up. So I think that would be largely how I would say it affects you. But of course, whether you saw it coming or not, what it does to your self-concept, what this relationship meant to you in a larger framework, socio-culturally as well, right? I mean, were you actually looking to marry this person? Were you in a relatively kind of figuring out your relationships zone, or all of those things would also matter, I suppose.
Okay.
Can I ask you something? I find this to be extremely unfair thing about life, that your attachment style, which is true, as you're saying, determines how you spend most of your life, but you don't have any say in that almost as a kid, right? And so is there any way to cheat out of that thing? Because it almost feels like a gift you didn't ask for, and everything. Now that I'm in a long-term relationship, I can clearly draw, okay, my partner is behaving like this because this is what happened with her when she was a kid, X, Y, Z, and I'm behaving like this because I've spent all my time alone by myself. So it just feels like a game you didn't want to play, but somebody's shoved you inside the field, ke jao khelo, and you're just failing, and then you come back hurt, and you're like, now I'm going to spend half of my life, putting stuff on that injury. Like, isn't that kind of unfair that you spend half your life fixing things that you didn't kind of asked for? Or more than that, I guess?
Okay, I'm going to have to question God about this. Honestly,
Why did you put
not
me
my
here?
territory. But yeah, I do feel it is unfair. But I also feel like attachment styles, although they can't be changed completely, I don't think you can completely neurobiologically change the whole thing. But I do think that a lot of it can be worked out. If you have a good partner who's kind of listening to you, who's ready to kind of work on this, and like I said, relationships are very rewarding, but a lot of hard work, right? Like anything else that's very rewarding. So you can kind of change those insecurities and things like that to quite an extent, right? Also, of course, I would say that if they're very, very severe needs, I would say that talk to someone, talk to a professional. Think about therapy. It does help. It helps you to kind of at least rebuild a certain narrative of your story, just kind of work on that narrative that you've had, because I feel like sometimes we're also very focused on this relatively dysfunctional narrative sometimes.
No, I think I'm kind of with you on the same page, where your attachment style, like I said, is set for you in your early years and formative years. At the same time, I feel like these strengths and weaknesses are quite contextual. Certain kinds of behaviors could be very helpful in a crisis, for instance. You might not be prone to completely losing your shit, so to speak, but you might just suppress how you communicate in a relationship.
Yeah, and you're forced to suppress because you take a loan from the bank to fund your education.
Yeah.
And you have to work, and you don't have time or the energy to feel sad. You keep suppressing. Then,
Yeah.
life moves ahead, and that's
It
when you
does.
realize, fuck, kind of happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Christian Ryan says, right? He says that just when I figured out how to dance, the lights come on. And that's one of the problems.